All right, we're back again with another Sigma virtual hour. And today we're going to talk about something that's affecting everyone holistically across the country, and it is education and the pandemic. And so we're going to have various educators and people that are in higher education or secondary education, elementary education, to come on to talk about what is best for our children and how can we better facilitate education in the pandemic. I have two special guests with me on the Zoom call. I want them to introduce themselves, tell me where they're from, what school they attended, and also tell us what their area of specialization is and what schools they are teaching at. We can start with Soror Lewis, and then we'll go to Miss Cooper, Mrs. Cooper.
Hello. So my degree is in elementary education. Right now, I'm currently in school pursuing my doctorate in education. At Tim Liberty University. My undergrad was with Norfolk State University. My master's was with Liberty as well. Right now, I'm a third grade teacher, and I teach at Atlantic Shores Christian School in Chesapeake, Virginia. We are right now in person and virtual.
All right, my name is Melissa Kuther. I am a three-time graduate of Old Dominion University. I received my bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies, a master's degree in early childhood education, and I recently completed my reading master's degree as well from ODU. I am a reading interventionist at West Haven Elementary in Portsmouth, Virginia.
Good, good. So we have experts here that's going to talk to us about our babies, our elementary age students, and our preschool students. So let's go ahead and get started. What books do you suggest that that are appropriate during this time, age appropriate books? You know, something that our kindergartners can read, our first to third graders, and our fourth to sixth graders, and even our toddlers. What can we be reading with them? And that could be for either one of you.
I'm upper elementary. I say anything with by Jerry Spinelli. His whole series is great. I know the kids really enjoy those, the Dog Man and the Diary of a Kid books. Those are entertaining in it, but they're actually good chapter books. I recommend that our upper elementary, once they get into third grade and second grade, they should be reading chapter books. And not reading. I know the graphic comics they're okay to read as well, but I just discourage my students to not read, books that are not chapter books. Those they get very bored with easily, and it's just not. It doesn't challenge them. So I want them to read something that is going to both challenge them and help them educationally too.
Well, and looking at the early elementary with kindergarten through second, I highly recommend picture books. At the kindergarten level, most of them are not quite reading yet, but they can always look at the pictures and tell their own story. Even in first and second grade, where they're still learning how to read, you want to make sure that you're giving them appropriate picture books that are on topics that are of interest to them. And then also various resources that can have books read to them. I know right now libraries are not really open, and if you're looking just for books or having stories read to them, there's storyonline.com where they have different celebrities that'll read a picture book to them. Books is another electronic resource where we'll read books to the students, and also Epic. YouTube is another great resource for having picture books and stories read to them. If you want to keep them interested in reading, find out what they like and go from there.
So if you have a toddler or 2 to 3 year old, what foundational things can we do to establish a love for reading and get them started in the right direction?
I would definitely say read to them every day. Make sure they have some type of print in their hand, a book, a magazine, even a coloring book, something that they can color and then tell their own story, make up their own words that go with the pictures. But reading to them, especially at that young age, so they know what it sounds like to read fluently, And then what you'll also notice, if it's a favorite book that they have, if you read it enough times to them, they'll start memorizing the words. And even then, that's when you can point out the print to them that'll keep them wanting to learn how to read. Because then once they know, oh, I know what that word is, they're going to want to be able to keep reading.
And so our students are home. They are working from home. What should our workplaces, our student workplaces look like? What should they have?
They definitely should be in a quiet place. That's the first thing I tell them. They shouldn't be laying in the bed. If you get them up and get them dressed, I think that encourages them too. I know right now, the pajamas are being frowned upon. We just want them to come to school. But I say if you get them dressed like they're going to school, they're going to have that school mindset to know, okay, I need to get up and make sure I have a quiet area, a quiet space. No TV should be on, and they should be focused.
Definitely agree. Even with the little ones, they need a designated space where they can work and they can concentrate. I would also say make sure they have all the materials that they're going to need right there with them, so they're not getting up, having to go look for a pencil, a piece of paper. Make sure they have everything that they need in that space so that they, like she said, they have the mindset that I'm in school. Yes, I'm at home, but I'm in school and I have things that I have to do.
And so what do you all expect from your students during this time of virtual learning?
Definitely still expect them to have that school mindset, to not feel discouraged. I know it's hard right now, and it's hard not having their friends, but definitely we as teachers and educators need to realize too that this is, as hard as it is for us, it's hard for them too. We do need to grant grace to them also. And be merciful, and knowing that this is a learning curve. It's new to everybody. So we have to make it engaging. So we can't just sit in front of a computer screen and just talk at them. So making things, I made a Bitmoji classroom for my students. So just making things entertaining and making it interactive, getting them out of their seats also helps too, with making sure they're not getting restless while they're just sitting there. But definitely, so the same rules and expectations, that's the expectations coming out of the door with them. So I have, Google Meet or Zoom expectations. You still need to raise your hand. You still need to ask permission to go before you go to the restroom. Don't just get up out of your seat. Don't interrupt. Please make sure you come in, you're on mute. Please, please, please have your cameras on so we can see your beautiful faces, and make sure you're not asleep at your at your desk, just to show that you're engaged. And also, when you're taking tests, make sure your parents aren't around you. Make sure you don't have anybody around you giving you answers, because right now it's so easy to fall into the trap of, okay, I can Google this, or I can get help from my mom and dad because they're sitting right beside me. But as parents, and I know it's hard, you have to kind of give that little bit of distance for them and let them learn and realize that the teachers, we are still teaching them. And it's hard if you're sitting right beside them and feeding them the answers.
Well, what can parents do to be better at virtual learning to assist their children?
Let them assert the independence. Let them have that independence. I know it's hard even for the kindergartners. Be there to still assist them if they need help, if they need something, they need to get out of their seat. Make sure they get up in the morning and still eat a healthy breakfast so they're not tired. Make sure they still go to bed on time, because I know it's easier. It's easy to say, oh, okay, they're not actually having to physically get up to go to school, but them staying up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and trying to have class is not helpful to them.
I would also say make sure that they are patient and flexible, because like she said, it's a new world for everybody. So teachers are trying to figure it out. Parents are still trying to figure it out. So patience and flexibility is something that should be expected from parents and from the teachers.
Now, the one of the bigger questions is, what should the teachers be doing?
The teachers should be teaching. Just because they're in they're not in the buildings. Some of them are teaching from their classrooms, but just because they don't have the students physically in front of them, they should still be doing the same things they would be doing in the classroom, making sure the students know what's expected, making sure they're teaching them the content, making sure they're covering everything that they need to cover, so that the students still get the same education that they would get if they were physically in the building. Teachers aren't on a break or vacation. They're still
They're
working.
definitely not
Some
feeding
were working
the
even harder than they would be if they were in the building.
Yeah.
So, there's going to be a time where we're transitioning from the virtual back to the classroom. What should the parents be doing to prepare them for this transition? Because there's some students that already have transitioned.
Yes, Chesapeake actually, I think the kindergartners went back today. So it is happening. Virginia Beach will actually be going back next week on the 30th. Their younger grades will be going back, and some of the middle school, I believe. Where I am at, we're virtual and in person. We started first day of school, virtual and in person. So I definitely say getting them used to wearing a mask. It's not mandatory. We could only encourage. We can't force them to wear a mask, but just getting them used to it and talking to them about, taking those precautions and making sure they're sanitizing and washing hands and reminding them to wash hands and not to be fearful, just to still, come in with an open mind that they're going to be safe and that we're going to try our best to keep them safe.
We have a question from a viewer. They want to know, how do you develop an older reader? So if someone is over the age of 10 and you want to make them a better reader, or you want them to get excited about reading. I know Ms. Kuthar mentioned find something that they really like to do, like if it's sports or something like that. But what other suggestions can you offer?
I would definitely start there. Find out what they like. Because once you find out what they like, you can kind of cater the books that they're going to read. You can cater it to them. If it's something that they don't have a care in the world about, they're not going to want to read. So you want to pique their interest, even if it starts with a lower level book, and then work your way up to it. Because you want them to be engaged. You want them to want to learn how to read or be a better reader. I would say start with piquing their interest first, and then you can always build from there.
And a lot of times they do enjoy the comic books. They are great reads. They do challenge them to read, and they love it. So maybe start there too.
Mm-hmm.
Look, every time I talk to a parent, they'll say, my child does not know this, or my teacher's not teaching them this, things of that nature. So you two both deal with elementary school children. What should they know? Like, what should every fifth grader, when they're leaving fifth grade, or sixth grade when they're going to middle school, like what are some things should they know? We know they need to know how to read, but what should they know?
Definitely their math facts. I can't say this enough. Their math facts. We noticed that a lot of children have trouble with math. Basic addition, basic subtraction, and they lost that with the last 6 months of being out of school. They lost the practice, multiplication, division, just basic facts. Make sure they're still practicing those basic math facts. Those are very important.
And what about far as English skills? What should they know?
Reading comprehension. Yeah, go ahead, Ms.
I was going to say basic comprehension, because we have a lot of kids that can read, but they're not comprehending what they read.
Okay.
So making sure that they're understanding what they're reading, and being able to verbalize or summarize what they read. That's definitely a big one for them to be able to do when they're leaving elementary school.
And ReadWorks is a great site for them to practice that.
Say that again?
ReadWorks is a great site for them to practice that.
Now, is that something available to them for free?
Yes.
It is.
Okay. And how can a parent monitor that? Can they monitor that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then so there's basic things that they should know when they leave in elementary school. There are certain things that we can pique their interest in reading and things of that nature. Okay. But my question is, holistically, what can entities do to ensure that there is a good foundational base for all of our people of color that are trying to learn? Because there are certain things that we have in our communities that we may lack where other communities may have. So what can we implement to ensure that our people of color have equal footing?
We need to make sure they have the tools. A lot of them don't have internet. They don't have computers. So making sure they just at least first have those tools to be able to access their learning.
Mhm. And if books, there's thrift stores that have cheap books, and then reach out to the community for donations of books, print, magazines, comic books, any types of those things that they can have that don't cost anything, that they have access to build on those reading and those math skills.
And so if you feel as though your child is lacking in a certain area, or you feel as though, they're not getting what they need, what can a parent do?
Ask for help.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely ask for help. Yeah.
There's so many available resources out here. They just have to ask. There's lots of people that are willing to tutor, willing to help. But if you don't ask, we don't know and we can't help. So definitely research, ask around. There's lots of educators all over the community, retired teachers all over the community. Definitely reach out to those people, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to do what they can to help your child succeed.
Well, I want to ask something that's super important. Norfolk State recently celebrated 85 years of being in existence, and I want to really talk about that. Of course, I share the love of going to Norfolk State, but also Ms. Lewis does. Can you tell us the benefits of Norfolk State and how special Norfolk State is to you before we go?
Well, I love Norfolk State. Behold, yes, definitely going to historically black college was definitely rewarding for me. Just being amongst your people, and I was just watching a news article. They were talking about the lack of black physicists and the need for black physicists and mentors. So I really think that's important too. However, my son's at ODU, he didn't choose the path of the HBCU, but I still instill that in him. But just being among your people and definitely having that mentorship is very important. And you're somewhere where you have the support, and it's a feeling that you really can't describe, being on campus amongst your people and your culture.
Now, I want to thank Melissa, because she lends us Steve as often as possible. Sometimes I want to give them back as often as possible as you lend them to him. But I really want to tell you thank you for being so patient and kind and understanding and lending your home and your husband to us. He's an asset, sometimes a liability, but mostly an asset. And so I really appreciate you being understanding and lending him to us. But I really want to tell you all both, thank you for taking your time out of your schedule to talk about education in the pandemic. I know people are going to have additional questions. Could you tell them possibly where to reach you at, maybe your Instagram or email address, just in case, they may have a question about what books to read, what should their children be learning, some websites. So just tell them where they can find you, anything like that.
Definitely, I do tutoring as well. So I was actually tutoring some children over the summer, but you can reach me at teach.Mrs.Lewis@gmail.com.
And you can reach me at melissa.cuther@portsk12.com.
So we have teach.Mrs.Lewis at
gmail.com,
and then we have
melissa.cuther@portsk12.com.
I'm asking you that because your husband is typing it, so I wanted to make sure. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we had everybody. All right, but I really want to appreciate. We want to thank you for coming, and appreciate all of your expertise and wisdom. And you'll be tapped on the show there very, very soon, so that we can talk about now. Hopefully soon, our babies will have transitioned, and we want to talk about their transition and how to get them over this hump during probably be in the spring, to make sure that they are all ready to not graduate, but move on to the next level. But I want to thank you, and you all have a good night.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
I think one of the major issues that we're having now during the pandemic is to ensure that our babies have are mentally stable. Also to ensure that their mental health is where we need it to be. And we have three individuals here. I think Kevon's was trying to pop in. I don't know what he's doing, but hopefully he'll be joining us soon. But we have three brothers that are guidance counselors within the school systems. And I'm going to definitely give them opportunity to tell us about themselves, where they're from, what school they went to, what school they're currently working at, and some things that they really could assist our young people in doing during this academic year. We'll start with Brother Jackson. You're muted,
All right,
sir.
good evening, everyone. Am I still muted?
No, not anymore.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ernest Jackson. I am a Spring 17 initiate of the Beta Sigma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I am a two-time graduate of Norfolk State University. I graduated with my bachelor's in journalism, and then I graduated again in 2020 with my master's of arts in school counseling. And I currently am the school counselor at Portlock Primary School in Chesapeake, Virginia.
Hey, Jack.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Johnson. I'm a Fall 18 initiate of the Beta Sigma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I'm also a two-time graduate of Norfolk State University. I got my Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, and I got my master's degree in school counseling K through 12. I'm a first-year school counselor at Harrogate Elementary School and Beulah Elementary, located in Chesterfield, Virginia.
All right, so we have two brothers here that's going to talk about the mental health and wellness of our young people. So, I mean, let's just start out. What should we look for, or what are some telltale signs that our child is suffering either through depression or is having some issues this semester? What can we look for?
I mean, I think you definitely should notice a mood change in the child, especially on the mental health aspect of it. Like I say, a lot of people or a lot of parents will say that my child is not doing this when they're with their teacher and stuff like that. But that's why I always say it's important to know who your child is, to get down and sit down and you know who your child is. I know that it's hard to do that in the pandemic with parents working and stuff, but get to know your child because you're going to see a change in swift in them if they're having mental health issues. So I would say get to know your child. You're going to notice different things like when we previously did our video, we named things like mood swings, like knowing attitude change, no appetite in eating. If you know your child eats a lot and then they started having symptoms of not wanting to eat, that sounds of depression and stress. Jabari, you can tell them some more stuff that sounds like they're going through some depression and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I think it's important for parents to be involved in their children's education as well. A lot of that stems from school because you spend a third of your day at school, if not even more. So I think it's important to get involved with your child's education. Make sure that you have a working relationship with the teacher, the counselors, the principals, so that way they know that you care, so they'll pay attention. And if they see any signs of moods change or anything in your child, then they're more keen to let you know. Because, I mean, in all honesty, we have so many kids to look after that we don't get to everybody. It's just unrealistic. But if you are a parent who is appropriately involved in the school, then I believe that the right people in place will work a little extra hard to make sure that your students or your child is doing what they're supposed to do, and will alert you if there's any changes, because that's a child's main job, in a sense, is school. And so that comes with stressors. that manifests into emotional trauma, can manifest into physical changes. So it's important to know what your child is doing in school, their work. If they need help, encourage them to go talk to the school counselor or the teacher, somebody in the school that they can trust, because they need a circle of trust. And it starts in the school. It starts at home, but it's also important to have some links in your circle at the school.
And yeah, like to piggyback off Jabari, what Jabari just said, like we're not saying to like be down the teacher's neck, like emailing them like every day, but just check in on your child like once a week and be like, hey, how's he doing this week? Especially in that virtual setting, because it's really crazy right now for teachers, students, and parents. So everyone's stressed out. So just do a check-in with the teacher and just be like, hey, is there anything that I could do at home to, boost their mental health, or anything that I could do to be involved?
So, I mean, I hate to transition to the parents, but I think this is important. What can the parents are now the teacher, the school monitor, the lunch monitor, and then they're also the tutor. So what can the parents do to, one, stay motivated themselves and not be burnt out, but also two, to ensure that they're keeping their child on track?
So what I found today, since I knew we were gonna be up here, I did like find this list of stuff, and I found like this list is important. So I say that it gives a list of stuff. So number one was a routine. Like set a routine with your child every morning. Like have them wake them up at a certain time for breakfast. Get them prepped for school. Even if you got to pray before school, do that. Set that up. That's a routine. Let them know. Have their lunch ready. Have a meal prep for them during the week. I know we all got stuff to do, but when you got to do it, you just got to do it. Like set up a meal prep. Like my cousins, they do lunch for their kids every day, and they set like a meal schedule for the kids, so they already know what's up. So have a routine for your child during the virtual learning. What's another one that I found that I enjoyed that I think is a good one? Give me 1 second. Phone acting crazy. Set clear expectations for your child. Let them know what time it is. Like it's school time, we home. I know we home, but have these expectations for them. Like high expectations. I know you virtually learning, but we still getting down to business. So let them know, have those expectations for them, so they'll know that, we still at school even though we're home. What's another one? Communicate regularly, like me and Jabari just said. Email the teachers every Thursday, once a week, to check on them, to see how the student is doing that week and anything that you could be doing at home to help them better. And then make it fun and active at home for the child. I like seeing, if you have means to do it, everyone doesn't have means to do it, but decorate their room, make them feel like they're in the classroom setting. Make it fun. And during breaks, talk to them, make it fun and all that good stuff like that. And that goes for teachers too. Nobody wants to sit behind a computer and be bored all day, especially little kids. So from 8 to 1, I know the kids in my school, they're online from 8 to 1. Try to make it as fun as possible for them, because it does get boring. Trust me, it gets boring for me when I have to sit behind a computer all day. So make it fun for them. And those are the expectations I saw for parents and teachers.
Absolutely. And like Jeff said, routine is key. And that's going to be the most important thing with going forward virtually, as well as if they go back face to face. And there are a lot of parents who have their kids in daycare to supplement, school. So just like you're involved in school, you need to be involved at the daycare, because it's different at the daycare because there's so many kids doing different things at one time. I've often, when I was doing lessons last week with my students, and some of them were at daycare, some of them were at home. So the ones who are at daycare, there's 17 other kids doing other things, and they're just in this room and everyone's on their laptops, and it may not be the best environment for the child. And I know, you have to work with what you have, but it's important to check in with the daycare or whoever is housing your child during school hours to make sure that they are sticking to a schedule and they're in a learning environment, a positive learning environment to maximize, their time. So it's very important for the parents to be emotionally there as well. Growing up, I was very much the kid who did homework and went about their business. And sometimes I was asked about my homework or how was school, and I was very short because sometimes you don't want to talk about school, but it's important to know what exactly is going on in school, because it could be a bullying in the classroom that your child is just not saying anything about, and you may notice a change and you don't know where it's stemming from. It's important to ask those questions and foster the environment where your child feels comfortable enough to come and talk to you. So you don't always have to pry answers out of them. They'll come to you and say, hey, this is what's going on.
And also celebrate your child, like when they're doing good stuff at the home, like celebrate them. Do like make a little certificate for them to make them feel good. They'll make them work harder. Take them out to eat on Fridays because they made it through the week. So celebrate them so they'll know that they're doing a good job, and they'll want to continue to do a good job the next week and the weeks to come.
Especially with the younger.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay. Sometimes people will say, well, I don't have to I'm not going to celebrate them because that's what they're supposed to do. How do you feel about that?
I was just about to speak on that. And granted, that is what they're supposed to do. Like I said before, the kid's job, quote unquote, from 4, 5 to 18 is school. Right. That is your job. And it's important to know that you are appreciated as, at any age. It's important. Like I remember when I was in 4th grade, and I put in my business out there, but I don't care. I made it. 4th grade was the only year I ever got honor. And so when I got honor roll, I was excited. I was, jumping up and down and trying to figure out, okay, so, what prize am I going to get now that I got honor roll? And, my father he celebrated me by saying, oh, he's really, really proud of me. I didn't get a reward because he said, that is what you're supposed to get honor roll. You're supposed to get straight A's or strive to get straight A's in school. And, he was right. It was also kind of discouraging because it didn't motivate me to keep going, So I think it's important. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be this grandiose thing. I'd hate to say it this way, but kids are easy. You could, like Jeff said, you could take them out to eat and they'll be satisfied with Burger King.
And they could be
McDonald's, CC's Pizza or whatever, something that's out of the ordinary. Something that'll just, that they don't get every day, to show them that you appreciate them and they feel special in that moment.
And parents that say that, they lying. They like to get rewarded too after they get off on Fridays. So they like to go out and celebrate their week. So celebrate the kids.
Because you could get a whole lot from me. You take me out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
We hear countless stories. We hear countless stories of people saying, oh, it's Friday, we going to the bar and blah, blah, blah. You're celebrating you had a successful week. Even if you didn't have a successful week,
you still go.
You're decompressing. And that's important. And it's important for children to do that too. So, yeah.
Because every Friday I treat myself because I made it through the week. So treat your kids.
That's right. If our child becomes all of a sudden disinterested in school, how can we make them interested in school? Like what are some motivating factors to keep them motivated, keep them interested in school?
Like we said, celebrate them is one to keep them focused in school, which is, like we said, is a job. I feel like that's the teacher's job to keep the child interested in the school. So we got to make sure that our teachers are, getting the lessons out and doing things to make it interesting for the child. Because sometimes I don't feel like it always should fall on the parent for stuff like that, because the teacher needs to make sure that they're doing stuff to make it successful and make it fun for the kids and interesting as well. But if that doesn't work, I would say do stuff at home after school is over that intrigues them. Bring stuff into the table that they like. Like if you're doing addition and your kids like Avengers, use some Avengers type stuff to get them interested in math, something like that. It's different ways. But I would say just intrigue them, make it fun at home, set up their class, like I said, their room like a classroom. Like you be the teacher when the class is over and keep their interest going when school is over. Jabari, you can feedback off that too if you want.
I mean, you pretty much said, you hit the nail on the head. It's important to, incentives are everything. Because we work in elementary, incentives are everything. Maybe with middle and high school, they have a better understanding that even though I don't want to do this, I have to do it in order to progress the way that I want to. With elementary, certain students don't grasp that concept. So, they have to be incentivized. And so it's important to, and like I said before, it doesn't have to be a huge incentive. It can be something simple. I remember working with a kid and he was reading. And so I saw I think I saw it on Pinterest, where a teacher put a gummy bear at the end of every paragraph. And so when he got through the paragraph, he got a gummy bear. And, sometimes in food incentives can become, hazy, but that was just an example, something that just gets them through a lesson or an activity, and constantly telling them like, hey, it's important. I know that you don't particularly like this way of learning or what have you, but it's important for you to get this done so that way you can be successful. I always equate everything to being successful to my students. So it's something as small as not talking, teachers talking. This is a way for you to be successful. Up until taking the initiative, like let's say high school, taking the initiative and not waiting for your counselor or your parents to talk to you about scholarships or talk to you about colleges, taking the initiative to look up that stuff yourself, because it's not my future. It's not your parents' future. It's not the counselor's future. It's your future.
Thanks.
And once you leave high school, you may have support, but it's going to fall on you. So what are you going to do to set up your future?
Yeah, basically like what Jabari said, just finding interest in the child. I remember at my internship, it was a kid that did not like to read at all, and he was not doing good at reading. So me and my counselor at my internship, we were working together, and we found that he liked Thomas in the Train in France. And we brought books in. She found books, and I helped her find books that, intrigued him with Thomas the Train. And he began to progress in his reading before I left. So find stuff that interests your child.
And so I like the point that you talked about, like what they should do in high school. And I guess one of the issues is how can we assist our young people from the transition from elementary to middle, from middle to high? Like what can we do to make sure that those transitions are smooth? Because it's a lot. You're going from one area of dependence to independence to dependence. So what can they do to make those transitions smooth?
Well, I think it's also the responsibility of the school to help with the transition. I know I'm at primary, so I only work with K through 2. But during my internship, I was at K through 5. And during the time that I was there, I was working with the counselor to do simple stuff for the students transitioning into middle school. We did a whole lesson on how to open a locker, how to unlock a lock, trying to get them to grasp that you're not going to stay in this classroom all day. You're going to have 4 or 5 other classes. So you have to pay attention faster. That's a big thing, is paying attention faster. And so, because once you get higher, in secondary, unfortunately, I don't want to, blast anybody, but some of the teachers become impatient. And so you have to take initiative to ask for help, stay after school. Like, I think making or teaching the students to be more assertive is key, because with Elementary, there's way more time for one-on-one help in the classroom, as opposed to, when you get to middle school and high school, I'm doing this lesson. If you grasp it, you grasp it. If you don't, come talk to me during my planning period, blah, 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 whatever. So helping them to take that initiative, because if you don't, then you fall behind and you can't blame anyone but you because you didn't take the initiative. Obviously, you're going to have parents who are, attentive and give them that push, but it's important to teach your child to be assertive, because I've seen in college and grad school that certain people wait or rely on other people to get simple stuff done because that's how it's always been for them. So teaching them early, hey, don't wait for the report card to come out and you have an F and F. If you don't understand, let your teacher know, or let your counselor know, let your parents know, hey, I'm struggling and I need help and I don't know the best way to go about getting help.
Thanks. And your kid is in 5th grade, it's time to, start teaching them that independence. I mean, in middle school, it's not like high school, but there's a different brink of independence that it is from elementary school. So you have to, get them prepared for that. So don't always fall on the school to do that for you. You as a parent needs to start building them up for that independence. So, yeah.
Okay, so we got to move on to our next segment, but I want to give you all 10 seconds to, of course, we celebrated 85 years of Norfolk State University, and you all both are double Norfolk State University graduates. So I want you to tell me how Norfolk State benefited you, and then if anybody has any questions or concerns that they want to get to you, how can they reach you?
I'll start with that. Norfolk State made me to the man that I am today. I wouldn't be sitting here as a school counselor without Norfolk State. I love NSU and I thank God for NSU. So behold the green and the gold. And if you want to reach me, if you have any more questions, if you want your child to talk to me, or you need help with your child, you can get on my email. It's Jeffrey J, Jeffery, the letter J, 1994 @gmail.com.
All right, and Norfolk State is very crucial in my personal development, my career development, social emotional development. I went to predominantly white grade schools, so going to Norfolk State was a culture shock and a eye opener for me in my Blackness and in my manhood. So I thank Norfolk State for showing me how to be comfortable with being who I am. And you can reach me at ernest.jackson@cpschools.com. Yeah, that's how you can reach me.
I will give y'all my number, but I ain't gonna do that on it. But you can inbox me for my number.
Is it cpschools.com or edu? Jabari.com. And you can find Jeff's phone number on Craigslist.
He lying, y'all.
I don't know what happened to Jabari. Jabari, where's your black shirt at? You didn't get the memo?
I definitely did not get But quick correction, Ernest without the A.
Ernest without the A, okay? Listen, gentlemen, I appreciate all that you've done. I appreciate you all coming on. And I appreciate just you being mentors to the, and definitely role models. Continue to work and strive hard. And we look forward to talking to you very, very soon. Thank you for coming on.
No problem.
All right.
Well, the final segment that we're going to have today is we're going to talk about higher education. We've pretty much ran the gamut of individuals within all school systems, but we really want to, let me make sure I cut their cameras on. So yeah, cut your cameras on, please, and unmute yourself. So we really want to talk about the educational system in higher education, because we're also dealing with a very different time period where we're all learning differently. We're all having to access learning differently. And so we wanted to bring in two experts from higher education to talk to us today, to assist us in being better college students, doctoral students, graduate students, everything. And so we have two individuals, and I'll have them to introduce themselves, tell them where they went to school, where they're currently working, and their area of expertise. And we'll start with Ms. Barnes, please.
Good evening. How are you doing? Well, my name is Katina Barnes, and can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I am right here from Portsmouth. I went to high school here in Portsmouth. I am proud to say that I am an alum of Norfolk State University twice. I graduated with my undergraduate degree in social work, and I also received my master's in urban education with a concentration in counseling, community counseling. And I am the director of dual enrollment at Tidewater Community College.
And Ms. Anderson?
Good evening. My name is Renee Fawn Anderson. I am a New York native. I went to Regent University. I have a bachelor's in psychology from Regent, and I have a master's in higher education with a concentration in student, excuse me, the voice is about to go, student academic advising. And also I work at Norfolk State University. I'm a professional advisor, and I've been there for 7 years.
Wow.
So, question for you. How do we prepare our child for college? What do we do?
Anybody? Or?
Anybody. Go for it.
Well, I will say that I think it's been said multiple times already, but although we're talking about higher education, you still want to talk to your students about safety first. And also considering that many of our colleges have gone to virtual instruction. We do have a few colleges who are on campus, face-to-face. Students are living in dormitories, but first thing, you want to make sure that your students are practicing safety. And I know this is a tough age to not really preach, because at this age, they think they know everything, right? But you want to make sure that they are practicing safety. I would also say when you're talking about safety is check out, for parents, check out the college's safety plan. You know, some colleges I've heard are requiring students to have a COVID test before they come back. So you want to practice safety first. I think the next thing that I would tell parents to do is to talk to your student to see if they are ready for college. You know, COVID hit us in March, and we all abruptly had to pivot, had to switch. Some students had to transition, you know, to virtual learning then. Are they emotionally ready to go to college? Are they academically ready to go to college? Those are some things that I would think about first before I, you know, say shipping my child off to college. Look at those things first before, you know, looking at the college route.
Ms. Anderson?
Piggybacking off of Ms. Barnes, definitely have a conversation with your child. Find out if this is in fact what they want to do, or is this something that you want them to do? Because it definitely makes a difference if the child is not ready to actually come to college. And like she said, being online is totally different than being in a classroom. And that's the transition a lot of times students are having an issue with right now, is having to be solely responsible as far as being virtually online. There's no such thing as your professor's gonna, you know, send you anything in regards to turning in an assignment. They're gonna post it and that's gonna be it. Usually when you're in class and you have the face, will sometimes remind you. Once with this virtual learning, it's been so different and so difficult for a lot of kids. So definitely a conversation with your child to find out, are they ready to do this? And if they are, or if they're very apprehensive about it, let's talk about maybe going part-time as opposed to going full-time. So they can kind of ease their way into being a virtual learner, because being a virtual learner in high school is not a virtual learner in college. And that's definitely a discussion they need to have.
That's a good question. What's the difference between a virtual learner in high school and a virtual learner in college? Like what's the difference?
Funny, my son is he's a ninth grader, and everything is kind of laid out for him. Everything's kind of laid out for him. I am an online learner. I did my master's completely online. I do well with the structure in my time. I do well with staying on top of assignments. That's the biggest thing, being able to stay on top of those assignments, turning in things when they're supposed to be due, not looking for grace or asking for grace. The work online, some of my students have what's called remote synchronous, meaning that the class meets at the time it would normally meet, but it's online. And so you can get the lesson, and it's pretty interactive, but if you miss it, you can still view the lesson. Unfortunately, it's not in real time, so you can't get your questions answered. So that's the difference with the whole virtual thing. It's really not in real time unless it's a remote synchronous class where it meets at that time. And so my son right now is doing remote synchronous. So his first class right now tomorrow meets at 7:20 to 8:50. It's English. So he has to be on that Zoom call at 7:20, because at 7:21 he's late. And so he won't really miss anything, but she marks them late. So same thing with college. They may or may not take attendance. They may or may not go back and discuss something that you need if if it's something you missed because you signed in late. So that's pretty much what the difference would be. And it's stressful and it's hectic for the students.
How can they, a year from now, when we pray normalization returns, how can they transition to the on-class structure? What should they be looking for? The in-class structure.
The in-class structure. It will actually, I think it'll be a little bit easier for them to go back into class, because you have some students that are online. Like I stated, I'm an online learner. I don't like to be in the classroom. But then you have students that need that face-to-face interaction. They need their questions answered. They need to be able to get to that professor right then and there. So I think they'll be able to transition fairly easy to go back into the classroom. I don't think it'll be a big to-do for them. I think the fact that everything happened so quickly with the pandemic and the world just shut down so quickly and everything changed so abruptly for them, I think that in itself is what's caused a lot of the stress and the turmoil for the kids. We had a lot of freshmen come in and they were extremely nervous about doing online classes because this was new. And of course, anything new, it's scary.
Right.
So, some of them have gotten the hang of it, and some of them are still trying to get into the groove of things.
I also would can I add something to that question? We also have classes that are asynchronous, that are not real time, where you are giving assignments to do, reading to do. You can post your questions or post your assignments on a board, but you don't have that face-to-face real time with your instructor. And that's very difficult as well. And I think transitioning back to the classroom, I agree with Ms. Anderson. I think it'll be easy, because I think once we get this down packed, going back to the classroom is, less challenging. I think both, though, will require communication, whether you are virtual or you are face-to-face. I think our college students, we see that communication piece is lost. Communicating with your instructor is important, whether you're virtual or whether you're face-to-face. Communicating with your, whether it's your program advisor, is important. And I find that, college students tend to, that communication piece is, and I guess it's that transition, into adulthood. They know everything. We don't need any help. We got this. But that communication piece is so vital.
I've noticed, and this question is to both of you. Zion is in he's in high school, but he's also in the early college program at Regent University. And some of our high schools now are taking college courses.
Mhm.
And so what can they do to manage that? Because it's a little, college is a little more demanding
Absolutely.
than, you know, high school is. And so what can they do to ensure that they are doing what they're supposed to do to stay on track, especially our students of color?
So I'm going to say, I'm going to start my answer off again with communication. Okay. And I say that I think that communication and connection, relationships, they are really our answers to a lot of our problems. As I oversee dual enrollment, I see my students who don't do well is because that communication piece. And many of them will tell me, Ms. Barnes, I didn't want to disappoint anybody, or I thought I had it. But that communication piece is important. And you said something, Mr. Dowdy, about our students of color. I think for us, we are taught to be strong. We're taught to, tough it out. You got this. But when you're in college and when you are both a high school student and a college student, there's a lot that you have to juggle. You have to juggle the credits that you're trying to obtain to get your high school diploma, and you have to meet the requirements for the credits that you have in college. So there's a lot there. There's a lot of, the rigor is very different. The intensity is very different. Many of my students say, I don't have to study in high school, but you do have to study in college. Let's just put that out there. You have to study. So there is a huge, it's a transition. And parents, I would say parents should still be involved, even at the high school, college level. Don't just because your students are in high school, hands off. Your parents should still be involved.
The question, what is a skill that you see college freshmen or people that's entering college are missing that could be vital that they learned now prior or got before they started college?
Time
management.
Time management.
Absolutely. Time management and critical thinking, problem solving skills.
Yes.
Those are the top three that I see. And let me give you an example, if I can. I had a student, again, I deal with dual enrolled students who are both high school and college. And I had a young lady and I help everybody. I do give out my number sometimes. I had a student to send me a text, Ms. Barnes, I need help writing an outline. I was like, what? Outline. She's a senior, but also a freshman in college. And we kind of went back and forth via text, and she couldn't problem solve. She couldn't figure out, I wasn't going to tell her how to do it, but she couldn't figure out how to get that problem solved. She couldn't figure out where to find or where to go get help to finish her project. So we see problem solving and critical thinking skills, and of course, time management. They usually get that like the last semester.
So we have a senior that's trying to decide what college to go to. What factors play in that?
Well, the financial piece is big, very big. I've had my daughters, some of them, I have 3 of them. 2 of them want to go out of state. That's not going to be a feasible thing. You need to pick a school in state. Grades. What do your grades look like? What do your SAT scores look like? What major are you looking to major in? So things like that play a role in the deciding factor as far as where do you want to go and where do you want to be?
I'll add one other thing to that, and this may be minor to some people, but I'll say, do I fit in? I encourage parents, whatever age your children are right now, it's never too early to think about college. So begin with college tours. Take them on, and right now it's a little hard, but most colleges have virtual tours. but start now taking students on tours of colleges, because 9 times out of 10, when your student walks onto a campus, you get a feeling, you know whether it's a good fit for you. And that may be minor for some people, but it really isn't. That whole social, emotional, do I fit in is really contributed to how well they do academically.
Ms. Barnes, can you tell us about some non-traditional programs that Tidewater Community College offers that people really may not know about, but could explore, especially those individuals that say, you know, I don't want to be a teacher, I don't want to be a physician or engineer. What options does Tidewater Community College offer?
Ooh, a lot. So we have transfer programs, and just to distinguish the two, transfer programs are those courses, those degrees that are for students who are considering transferring to a four-year institution. So like your social science, your science, engineering, but we also have those non-traditional workforce programs. We have welding, we have cybersecurity, we have CNA, nursing, nurse aid that leads into our nursing program. There's a wealth of programs that Tidewater Community College offers our students. We are one of the largest community colleges here in Virginia, and we have, tons of programs. I would encourage students to go to our website. I can say back in the day when I went to college, it wasn't cool to go to a community college, but times have changed. Many of our community colleges do a wonderful job of giving that full college experience. We have student clubs. Many of our clubs are connected to a discipline. So if you are interested, say in welding, our welders make some pretty darn good money. We have a club, we have a social club, and those students are connected and they network with welders already in the field. So that is important, because connections and networking, sometimes it's about who you know, who you are connected with. So I would encourage people to go to www.tcc.edu and take a look at all the programs that we have. We don't just have those transfer programs, but we also have workforce development programs as well.
Ms. Can you tell well, let's just put it out there. Norfolk State University, 85 years of academic.
Behold.
The green and gold.
Yes. So, Ms. Anderson, could you tell us why choose Norfolk State? And then Ms. Barnes, could you follow that up and talk about what Norfolk State means to you?
Why not choose Norfolk State? Why not? I've had students come to Norfolk State and transfer out to different schools and come right back. Because at Norfolk State, we are family. We are definitely family. My students know that I love them. They know that I love them. They know that I go above and beyond for them. They know that I am serious about their education, because it's important to me to see them get their degree. It's important for me to see them grow from being a weird freshman, a quirky freshman, to a full nurse that they passed. Because at one point in time, I had nursing students. Watch them go through the program, and our nursing program is very rigorous. Watch those young people go through that program and come out and pass those state boards, and they're crying and I'm crying, because I know what they've been through. They've been in my office crying about a test. They've been in my office upset about, something personal going on. My students are just more than my students. They're like my kids. They're like my family. And so I enjoy what I do. I love what I do. And there's so many of us on the campus that love what we do. We love engaging the students. We love watching them, grow. So you will not get that anywhere else.
That's right.
You will not get that anywhere else. Our hearts are my heart is genuine and pure. I am all about my students. And if they could just pop up online right now, they would tell you, Ms. Anderson is crazy. Yes, I am. I will cry with you. I will pray with you, but I will read you to filth if you do something to embarrass me. I will read you to, because that's how I would do my own kids. And I want, when my kids went away to school, and when my son finally goes, I want him to have somebody to be open with him, to be honest. I've had to have conversations with kids like, okay, this major is not going to work for you. And they've been wanting to be a nurse their whole life or a doctor their whole life, but your GPA is not dictating that. You're not putting in the work. Tell me what it is that you really want to do. And then I'll find out that they have a love for communication. I've had to have conversations with parents. I'm telling you, I've worked at another institution. That's not what they do there. You're a number. You're a number. You're not going to be a number at Norfolk State. Am I right, Ms. Barnes?
So I'm going to say what Ms. Anderson is describing. That's how I felt as a student. So when I went to Norfolk State, I was non-traditional. I was old because Norfolk State was my third college that I had gone to. So I was not, 18, 19, 20 years old. But even as a non-traditional student, I felt like I mattered. They didn't make me feel any less because I was old, OG.
Seasoned. I like to say we're seasoned.
Okay, seasoned. All right. Okay, I'll take that. But Norfolk State made me the person I am, the woman I am today. When I think of Norfolk State, I think of legacy. It's legacy. It taught me things that I did not learn at my previous colleges. I went to the Art Institute of Atlanta, not the same experience. I went to Johnson C. Smith University, which is also HBCU. Wasn't the same experience there. But Norfolk State is it's family. And Ms. Anderson is right. They're going to tell you what's right for you, but that same person is going to tell you, look, okay, you are not about your business, get it together.
That's right.
So Norfolk State, behold the green and gold, absolutely.
Yeah.
And congratulations on celebrating 85 years.
Yeah. And I tell people, I didn't go to an HBCU. I went to a PWI. Like you, I was a seasoned student. But that is my HBCU, and those kids look like my kids. And so I have a love for the kids. Like I said, I want them all to do well. I wish everybody could walk away with a degree. Sometimes I have kids that leave and go in the military. Sometimes they leave and get jobs, It doesn't mean, and I tell them, that does make you a failure because sometimes you have to come back and revisit this thing. Like I said, I started the first time in 92 when I graduated.
Right.
Couldn't complete it, but came back in 2007. I went back to school in 2007. And so, like I said, I completed it that time. But, they just need, a lot of times the kids just need some guidance and some support. And that's what we're there for.
I appreciate Norfolk State because it gave me like an extra push.
Yes.
They didn't allow me to be mediocre or be the blend in. It was just like, you have to do this. And it allowed me to find out who I was, what I was. And then it was like a community, like if you were having a problem with this class, they called over to that class and said, okay, well, what's going on with this person? What do you need to do? And then I walked in one of the classes and one of the professors taught my daddy. And so I was second generation Norfolk State students. So it was like a family. And they made sure that what my dreams were, that I worked towards that. And they pushed me, they allowed me to say, okay, well, I think that's a little too hard for no. They was like, you want to go to law school? You going and you getting out of here. And that's what they did. And so I'm so thankful to Norfolk State for all they've done, not just for me, but my entire family, all five of us, my mother, father, two sisters, were all Norfolk State graduates.
Oh, wow.
Now let's be clear. You're going to stand in some lines now, but that's okay.
Yes, you're going to
We've gotten better. We've gotten better.
Yeah, they've gotten better.
We've gotten better. I heard about the lines.
Yeah.
I heard about the lines.
I want to be real. And
the other piece is my kids have learned to conduct business. Because do not come back in my office and tell me you spoke to the lady. What lady?
Right.
You better go with a pencil and a piece of paper and you write her name down.
Yeah.
Right.
Come back in this office and tell me the lady told you anything.
That's right.
But you know what? I wanted to say that because I wanted to be real, but also know staying in those lines taught you something.
Yes, it did.
It taught you something, just like you said. That's right. It taught you something that was well worth it.
That's right.
It was. And like I said, it's not right now. Well, let me say this: the 7 years that I've been there, I haven't seen the lines. I do know that for registration, sometimes that can get a little hectic. you know, because when registration first opens up, everybody's there because everybody wants the classes that they want. But I've heard about the lines of the 80s and the 90s where it was wrapping around the building.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those.
That's good.
But we're doing good. We're doing better.
Ladies, I want to thank you all for coming on today. Could you tell, if I know there are other questions, could you tell individuals how they can reach you, and you know, maybe your email address, so just in case they have questions that weren't asked today?
Sure. I can be reached at kbarnes, that's KBARNES, @tcc.edu.
And I can be reached at nanderson@nsu.edu.
Well, today, that's the end of our Sigma Virtual Hour. I hope you enjoyed education in the pandemic. I want to thank all of our guests that have come on today. I really feel as though we have educated ourselves and educated each other on what we can do to build up not just our young ones, but everyone. It's never too late for you to go to college. It's never too late for you to pursue your dreams. Continue to do that. We'll be back with Sigma Virtual Hour on October 19th, and that'll be our local election edition. So we'll have mayoral candidates, local governmental candidates, and we'll talk about why it is important for you to go out there and vote. And so, again, this is Barry with the Sigma Virtual Hour. I hope you enjoy. Please like, share, and comment. Good night.